Earlier in the big 2025, I uploaded a video covering the newcomers of Street Fighter 4, and after receiving requests to take the same formula and apply it to the next Street Fighter title, I've finally gotten around to it. Sorry for the wait. With a 6-year lifespan and 5 seasons worth of content, Street Fighter V had its fair share of ups and downs, but what it always had was new characters. Well, except for Season 1. In case it wasn't obvious by now, we'll be exploring all the newcomers that Street Fighter V brought to the table, but I would like to make some disclaimers before we begin. I'm getting most of my information from the SuperComboWiki website, as I found it to be super helpful during my research, and I also ask you to remember that I'm just one man and can't include every single detail about every single character. I would burn out instantly if I tried, and the video would be like 7 hours long. With that being said, if there's something you're passionate about that I didn't include, feel free to leave it in the comments section so we can all learn more. Okay, now that we're about to begin, get ready for the newcomers of Street Fighter V. With his Dragon Ball Z inspired Scouter and one of the sickest themes in Street Fighter history, Rashid of the Turbulent Wind is here to kick up some dust with his overwhelming offense. Just look at his idle animation, he's raring to go. Rashid's casual demeanor makes him a great choice for any player who doesn't take things too seriously, especially when they're smothering their opponent with close range pressure. This is the cornerstone of Rashid's game plan, as his mix-ups and continued block strings are where he truly shines. There are so many ways to lock the enemy down in a tricky frame trap with his normals, and if they attempt to press, get ready to confirm into a counter-hit combo. In other words, if you aren't up close and forcing the opponent to respect your presence, then Rashid will never operate at maximum capacity. A solid tool for close quarters combat is his medium punch, as its forward movement makes it crucial for corner pressure. With 5 startup frames and 3+ frames on block, it's expected that Rashid will continuously throw this out to frustrate his opponent and make them want to counter. If they take the bait, cancelling into a combo is as easy as pie. When further out, forward medium punch will keep them in block stun, and if the first hit connects, you can even cancel into a special. Crouching heavy punch works wonders in neutral and pressure strings, as not only is it a long range hit confirm tool, but it's also only -2 on block, and it moves Rashid back to his starting position. The second hit also crush counters, but this can be challenging to land when up close. In this situation, heavy kick works wonders, as it can lead into a satisfying combo as well as only being -4. These are all fantastic, but it wouldn't be right if I ignored V-Trigger 1. Screen control? Check. Mix-up potential? Check. Enhanced special moves? Check. Yeah, V-Trigger 1 can do it all. If you land a poke in neutral, it's a nice cancel option as it provides a combo and a following mix-up. The Tornado is arguably Rashid's most important tool, and smart usage is what separates the new players from the experienced crowd. On the other hand, Rashid's reliance on being near the enemy means he's quite linear, as aware opponents will understand when and where he'll be using specific pokes and special moves. If they can keep him out, then there's not much he can do other than attempting to force his way in. This leads to risk-taking and impatient play, meaning Rashid can easily be punished in the process. Many of his buttons are stubby and will often whiff when in mid-range. Even the ones that look like they should connect often fail to do so, and against other characters who thrive when up close, he has to travel into their effective range to begin his pressure. Outside of his critical art, Rashid's only strike invincible reversal is his EX spinning mixer, but the risk-reward usually isn't in his favor. The opponent takes 150 damage on hit, but if they block and punish, Rashid will fall victim to far more damage. When performed as a Hail Mary, it can easily lose you the round. With confident appearances in both Street Fighter V and 6, I think it's safe to say that Rashid will be sticking around for the foreseeable future. If you can get past his flaws, he's a juggernaut of a fighter, and I love his wind-based assortment of attacks. If a demented-sounding beast man that rips and tears through his opposition sounds appealing, then Necalli might be up your alley. Specifically designed around Street Fighter V's V system, the Aztec Warrior is a hybrid between a motion input and a charge input character. Instead of Rashid's tricky mobility, Necalli is a straightforward brawler whose combat style is perfect for beginners. When you combine his simple game plan with low execution requirements, he's one of the ultimate pick-up and play characters, but this doesn't mean that there's nothing thoughtful to discuss. He loves to be at mid-range or closer, as this is where his most lethal buttons are effective, and if he lands a big crush counter, the damage can be enough to pulverize any enemy. If you're being kept away, crouching medium kick is a solid poke, as he can easily confirm into his light stomp, which leads to larger combos if you're willing to spend resources. Heavy kick functions similarly with V-Trigger, making it great for reads. Necalli's overhead is useful for when you've conditioned the opponent to block your low forward, and the reach is surprisingly far. There's little to no combo potential here, but it's still nice to have. Standing heavy punch and medium kick are reliable combo tools, as they can easily chain into any special move, with light and medium stomps being my go-tos. If you want a more substantial combo, then the medium kick heavy kick target combo into V-skill works wonders. This attack is reminiscent of Sea Viper's Seismos, as their distance is dependent on your input. We'll get more into this later, but it's good for Necalli to have a tool like this, even if it isn't mind-blowing. Along with his stomps, he has a DP, command grab, and a charge move with amazing travel. As the poster boy for the V system, Necalli has some of the most interesting V triggers in the game, at least in my view. They remove the charge requirement for his charge attack, grant him one new move for each install, buff his critical art, and boost his damage and movement speed. Initially, V-Trigger 1 lasted until the end of the round, but with the addition of V-Trigger 2 in Arcade Edition, these were flipped around. Although I prefer V-Trigger 2 for its new projectile attack and unique length, I can't deny that having access to V-Trigger 1 multiple times in a single round sounds pretty good. Much like Rashid, Necalli struggles heavily when being kept at a distance. His whole toolkit is designed around being up close, so when he can't get the ball rolling, he's forced to play second fiddle. The linear nature of his movement patterns results in them being predictable, and experienced opponents will easily catch on to his plans. Over the years, Necalli has fallen victim to huge amounts of criticism from the Street Fighter fanbase, as his unsettling personality and design has always felt slightly out of place within the series. In my view, I actually think he's pretty cool, and I wish I started exploring his toolkit sooner. I've always been a big fan of simple yet effective fighters, and this is Necalli to a T. Representing Brazil through the art of jiu-jitsu and a very colourful outfit, Laura is the older sister of Street Fighter III Sean, but unlike his game plan of being a pretty lackluster Shoto, she's about putting the fear of God into the opponent by getting up close and tearing them to shreds. Laura's primary strategy is to force the enemy into mix-ups involving highs, lows, and command grabs. If successful, not only can she take off large chunks of life, but she can often begin the cycle anew. A passive Laura who keeps her distance will never reach her full potential, and with combo damage like this, how could you resist attempting to go in? Frame traps are one of Laura's best qualities, and as many of her standing normals are either safe or plus on block, they're intended to be used here. Standing light kick, standing medium punch, crouching light punch, and crouching medium punch are all effective pokes when up close, with a spaced standing heavy kick and crouching heavy punch working better when at mid-range. Despite Laura's focus on grounded combat, jumping medium kick is a nice cross-up tool, and jumping heavy kick starts up in 5 frames, making it useful for high damage routes. As light bolt charge is +2 on hit, safe on block, and leaves her close to the enemy, Laura's mix-ups and block strings can easily begin from landing this one special move. The medium version has follow-ups that influence which side you end on, with a +2 mix-up being guaranteed after the EX version into forward dash, and heavy bolt charge is an anti-air combo tool. After a knockdown, Thunderclap can be utilized to keep them blocking, furthering Laura's lethal Okizeme. The attack strength also dictates its speed, and you can even charge it up to increase the number of hits it does. Level 2 and Level 3 are +2 and +18 on block respectively, and if you've ever fought against her before, you'll know how frightening it is to be on the receiving end of this. There are 3 EX variants depending on your inputs, and these slightly launch the enemy into a juggle state. A fully charged Thunderclap is often used to continue combos after a stun, adding even more damage. Finally, Sunset Wheel is a command grab that lets you choose between range or startup speed. This is one of Laura's most important tools within her block strings and resets, with high-level players knowing exactly when and where to use each version. The EX version moves forward and is projectile invincible on frame 1, making it amazing for punishment. V-Skill 1 is normally an overhead strike, but if you input forwards or backwards during the input, Laura will dash instead, and V-Skill 2 is a leaping strike with one of 2 follow-ups. V-Trigger 1 buffs pretty much everything I've mentioned up until this point by increasing range, damage, frame data, etc., and V-Trigger 2 is a spot dodge that leads to a command grab, but it's not great. With her lack of respectable long-range attacks and many recovery frames on whiffed normals, contesting the enemy from anywhere further out from mid-range isn't in Laura's wheelhouse. If she falls into the trap of looping light bolt charge on block, the frame data means 2 situations can take place. Either both fighters press a fast normal and trade, or Laura respects the enemy's plus frames here and is now placed in their block string. With her emphasis on close-range pressure, Laura has given nightmares to many Street Fighter V players, but I would love to see her make a return one day. Combining electricity and jujutsu is a very distinct characteristic of her fighting style, one that would look amazing in the RE engine. Purple charge characters may not have been on anyone's pre-launch bingo card, but F.A.N.G aims to bring his unique flavor of poison to the roster. Claiming that most people hate F.A.N.G would be an understatement, but I've always had a soft spot for him as I enjoy weirdo fighters, and hey, he was the direct inspiration for Falke in Street Fighter VI. F.A.N.G's strategy revolves around infecting the enemy with poison, which chips away at their life bar over time. The poison disappears if he takes damage, however, so it's not permanent, thank goodness. Physical hits, projectiles, and AoE fields are how he'll achieve this goal, but most of them are locked behind charge motions. This means that he never has immediate access to his most crucial tools, so one of the most important skills to possess as a F.A.N.G player is getting really good at charge inputs. With the exception of crouching light kick, all of his grounded normals can be cancelled into specials, V-trigger, or critical art, making them effective at certain distances. The catch is that a lot of the multi-hitting normals can only be cancelled during the first attack, making these types of combos challenging to perform without prior intent. If you like starting combos from the air, Thor to jump heavy kick is a cross-up tool similar to a Yori's Taco in the King of Fighters. It feels really bizarre at first, but it can throw enemies for a loop if they don't know the matchup. Command normals exist too, with my favorite being his evasion tool, Senpuku-ga. Its follow-up leads to a combo and is +2 on block, so F.A.N.G gets a pretty sweet deal. His slide also lets him phase through fireballs as well as enter Senpuku-ga. Regarding his poison-related specials, there are 3 ranges he can cover, and it's up to the F.A.N.G player to determine when and where to use these attacks. Nishikyu combines mobility with screen control, as opponents will have to pay attention to the projectile's trajectory. Each version has the same number of startup frames, making it a useful mid-screen tool. Sotoja is a knockdown strike, best used within combos or to beat out projectiles. You'll never be using it when far out, so make sure to avoid input overlapping. Ryobenda is a stationary move that leaves behind a poison trap on whiff, with its length depending on what strength was used to input the attack. Okay, if you are hoping for a head-scratching fighter like this to be strong, I hate to disappoint because F.A.N.G has never been viewed as a solid contender. His charge requirements and lack of range makes dealing with zoning a nightmare, as if his opponent has decent keep-out tools, F.A.N.G is forced on the back burner. His gameplay of pressuring the enemy with poison falls apart if opponents stay away and just keep their cool. By walking forward, he sacrifices his charge, and as most if not all of his fast normals have poor range, there aren't many amazing neutral tools he can quickly utilize. This final point isn't a weakness per se, but there also aren't many high-level F.A.N.G players to learn from, which can act as a giant roadblock for those new to the character. With how Arki's popularity instantly engulfed that of F.A.N.G's, I can't see a universe where he ever returns as a playable fighter. I may be a fan of his wacky design and voice lines, but I definitely understand why the wider Street Fighter community couldn't stand him, even if his strategy of doing poison over time was very unique within the series. With quite possibly the most horrifying body odor in series history, Abigail returns from Final Fight to flex his muscles and love of all things automobiles. Hell, he's even a small business owner too. Good on you, Abigail. Big, slow, and powerful are the best descriptors one can have when discussing this brute, and I still remember him being borderline overpowered in Season 3. Abigail's main strategy is twofold. He can be within mouth-breathing distance and combo his powerful heavy normals into V-trigger to get the party started, or he can use his mid-screen pokes to hit confirm into a knockdown. With one of the highest health values in the game, he can freely take some damage when moving forward, so it's okay if he gets roughed up a little bit. It'll usually be worth it in the long run, because when the stars align, he can send even the mightiest of warriors immediately to the emergency room. Because of Abigail's size, many of his normals have slow startup, but they compensate with reach. Crouching Light Punch and Crouching Medium Punch are both safe on block and cover an entire football field. Seriously, look at the range. On hit, they can easily chain into specials, making them even greater. If you're looking for something faster, Crouching Light Kick is a 4-frame normal that can combo on counter hit. Crouching Medium Kick functions as a traditional low forward in that you can poke with it, but the 12-frame startup makes this challenging. Crouching Heavy Kick hits twice, with the final strike being a low. This makes it a silly knowledge check against unaware opponents, but if it's blocked, you can reactively utilize V-trigger to remain safe. Standing Medium Punch is a fantastic plus on block poke that can keep the enemy frozen if they're not familiar with Abigail's options out of plus frames. Giant Flip can be used to score chip damage, and Abigail Smash can be used to punish them for sitting still. So, with all of this dominance, your enemy is bound to eventually jump at you, but Abigail made sure to come prepared. Crouching Light Punch can catch rising enemies, whereas Standing Heavy Punch and Crouching Heavy Punch are more traditional anti-airs. When ending a light combo, Abigail Punch is your go-to ender. Like with Rashid spinning Mixer, this can be mashed for extra damage, especially with EX. Arguably Abigail's most important special move, Nitro Blitz is a chargeable command run with multiple outcomes. You can use it in combos, in neutral, in fireball wars, and as a surprise command grab after block strings. V-Skill 2 summons a tire that can be launched, helping him do battle from a distance. V-Trigger 1 buffs his damage and lets him charge all of his heavy punches, and V-Trigger 2 gives him access to Metro Crash. The more you charge it, the safer it becomes, with a guard break resulting from a full charge. During the startup, it has almost infinite armor, making the move even stronger. This all sounds incredible, but if his high-octane energy fails to pull off and Abigail finds himself in the corner, it might be lights out, as any 3-frame normal will beat out his buttons. This helplessness applies to battles dictated by zoning, as he has to downshift from 6th gear into a more reserved position. His size doesn't help either, as fuzzy guards are common as can be against him. Also, V-Trigger 2 can be countered through V-Shift, punishing complacency. Abigail's straightforward, aggressive nature makes you think he would be very one-dimensional, but I found myself enjoying his charge timing combos and neutral tools. There's no chance in hell that Capcom would ever bring him back, but it makes me wonder, how did he even get into the game in the first place? Remember the little kid that Balrog rescued in his Street Fighter 4 ending? Well, he's all grown up now and has become quite the fan favorite. Ed's blend of psycho powers with traditional kickboxing puts a fascinating spin on the classic fighting style, especially when you realize that he only has one motion input. Outside of his critical art, every attack in his repertoire only requires button presses. As with all master boxers, Ed dominates the competition by staying on the ground and up in their grill, but that doesn't mean he's hopeless when further out. At a close distance, you can throw out frame traps, extended block strings, anti-airs, V-skills, and seemingly whatever else you can think of. Forcing the enemy to play along with Ed's tempo is the crux of his strategy, and it only gets better when you start looking into his neutral and combo tools. Most grounded normals are plus on block, complementing his desire for block string pressure, but if you know you're gonna land the hit, I'd recommend standing medium punch. This attack has 6 startup frames and is plus 10 on hit, allowing for easy links into crouching medium punch. Psycho Rising contains both strike and projectile invincibility frames, though neither of them kick in on frame 1, but it's still a nice tool to have. Psycho Upper appears very similar in function, but it starts up in 16 frames. With that said, if you're looking for a consistent, meterless combo ender, this is the tool to use. If you want to approach without jumping or dashing, Psycho Knuckle will let you do this and remain safe on block. The startup is obvious however, so I wouldn't recommend constantly using it. On hit, this crumbles the opponent, leading to combos and resets. Psycho Shot is a projectile that keeps them standing, with the EX variant doing extra damage and knocking down. Interestingly, the first hit is performed with forward medium punch, meaning that the fireball itself doesn't have to be committed to. Psycho Flicker is easily the most recognizable of Ed's special moves due to the numerous buffs it received through Street Fighter V's balance patches. Performed by mashing a punch button, it's one of Ed's primary harassment tools, one that's safe on block. Throwing it out to keep the enemy in check allows you to take control of the match's pacing, and it only gets better in combos. Before we move on, I should also mention Ed's V-triggers. The first is a forward-moving fireball that is great for combos and space control, with the second buffing his snatch ability. I have a hard time deciding which is better, but their viability seems dependent on the unique matchup. If you want easy plus frames and reset potential, go with V-trigger 2, but if you played as Decapre in Ultra Street Fighter 4, I'd recommend V-trigger 1. Most of Ed's normals are pretty stubby and contain limited cancel opportunities, with V-trigger being the only option for heavies. He also lacks mix-up options, as there are no standing overheads in his toolkit. Blocking low and delay teching upon knockdown are reliable methods to destroy Ed's pressure, and 3-frame normals will almost always beat him to the punch. From what I recall, Ed was considered to be weak early on in his lifespan, but Capcom seemingly warmed up to him over time and showered him in buffs. He's one of the new cast members with legitimate staying power, and I feel that the simple input experiment within his Street Fighter V move list was a resounding success. The Russian Ice Queen Kolin has a mysterious backstory with Charlie, Urien, and Gil, but she technically isn't a newcomer. Way back in 1999, she first appeared as Gil's assistant in Third Strike, but since her playable debut was in this game, I think it's appropriate to explore how she uses ice powers in battle. Unlike many characters where the strategy is to go in and just murderize them, Kolin prefers to play a more patient style of neutral. She's a very footsies-focused character. Confirming mid-range whiff punishes and light attacks will easily lead to simple combos that sets up her corner pressure, and this is where Kolin can truly shine. On the topic of lights, her 3-frame crouching light punch easily links into a target combo, which can then convert into EX Parabellum. This special is one of Kolin's most crucial moves, as the final hit can either lead into a combo ender or hailstorm mix-up. When in footsies, medium punch into light Parabellum is a low-risk method of scoring chip damage, but keep in mind that you're now -4. Crouching medium kick is an amazing annoyance tool, as while it doesn't lead to meaningful damage outside of V-trigger or critical art, it has long range and is plus on block. Medium punch functions similarly but when up close, as its plus frames allow for tick throw setups. Hailstorm startup prevents it from being used when right up close, so it's mostly intended to supplement her knockdowns. The version you input influences where the icicle will spawn, leading to Kolin having Oki from different ranges. I should also mention that Hailstorm is not an overhead, with standing blocks acting as an invitation to get hit in the legs. If you've ever seen Kolin players slip and slide all over the place, Vanity Step is how they're able to do this. Different strengths result in specific trajectories, with Light Step into Silver Edge serving as a good combo ender. Medium increases juggle potential on her strikes, as well as leading into numerous target combos, and Heavy looks like a super jump out of Marvel vs. Capcom. This too can lead into target combos, as well as Kolin's air throw for unique air combo enders. V-Skill 1 is a slash with built-in parry properties, and V-Skill 2 freezes the enemy's stun bar until Kolin takes damage. V-Trigger 1 is a grounded ice strike that OTGs, but I'm pretty sure that V-Trigger 2 is leagues better. This buffs the range and damage of Kolin's punches, gives her 2 new attacks, and boosts her dash. You can think of this like a better medium Vanity Step, as it's faster to execute and her meterless combos now hit harder. Like with many neutral and mix-up focused characters, Kolin's meterless damage output is on the lower end. Basic hit confirms will barely scratch the enemy, so you'll need meter to make those combos count. This leads to her being very resource intensive, as her most damaging routes won't be available right away. As Kolin needs to be up close to start her strategy, zoners can eat her alive. Light and EX Silver Step do go through fireballs, but this can easily become predictable. Other than that, Kolin is forced to grit her teeth and slowly walk them to the corner with her normals. Honestly, I never really paid that much attention to Kolin throughout Street Fighter V's lifespan, as she didn't interest me that much, but now that I've researched her playstyle, there's way more to it than I ever gave her credit for. She's one of the more unique newcomers, and I was always intrigued by what I found during my research. Arguably Street Fighter V's most popular newcomer, Menat is here to predict the future of battle with her crystal ball, as well as use it to whack you in the head. Despite being mentored by Rose, Menat plays completely differently, and I would go as far as to say that she's far more complicated than most fighters on the roster. Her crystal ball isn't just for show, as placing it on the screen will change the normals that utilize it. This means that Menat has to balance when to keep the ball close and when to throw it out. When it's no longer in her grasp, the range on her punches and heavy kick gets destroyed, but their frame data improves. As Menat is juggling her ball, the player in charge of piloting her will have to juggle their mental stack, and it's a classic case of a fan favorite fighter being quite challenging to effectively play. With the ball equipped, all of Menat's punches and heavy kick have godlike range, especially the heavies. Already, we can tell that these buttons are suited for mid to long range keep away, and they even function as crush counters. I can only imagine how frustrating this must be for those unaware of the matchup. She also has a low profile slide, standing overhead, and a full set of dulcim drills. With the ball ready to go, Guardian of the Sun is an anti-air grab that can be comboed into, but it also works well as a punishment tool against opponents who jump forward a lot. Soul Sphere is how you'll send the ball out, and the strength determines where it will travel. Light is on the ground, medium is waist level, and heavy is behind their head. Throwing it out will automatically enable the Orbalist normal, so you have to switch gears mentally at this point. Interestingly, there are two more EX versions of Soul Sphere. The former is a restand for combo extensions, and the other is a combo ender. Soul Sphere Unk is how you can recall the ball, although you have to wait for the ball to physically travel towards Menat. Soul Spark is another dedicated ball retrieval special move, and its explosion can lead into her air grab if the enemy is close enough. All explosions are safe on block, and the EX version even keeps it out on the field. V-Skill 1 lets Menat reflect or absorb projectiles depending on if the ball is summoned, and V-Skill 2 is Soul Spiral. Soul Spiral is far easier to use as it's pretty much just a standard combo ender, but I feel that V-Skill 1's versatility makes it stronger overall. V-Trigger 2 lets Menat shoot all 6 of her balls at certain angles, and this reminds me of Venom in Guilty Gear. After they're all gone, you have to manually summon them again, but this takes 42 frames, so be careful. Her iconic V-Trigger 1 assigns each normal to a button that must be held down. When released, the associated ball will fly out, and if it misses, you're out of luck. With 950 health, no true reversals, and her only 3-frame button having poor range, Menat struggles when the enemy breaches her defense. You have to work so hard in order to play her effectively, and as humans can and will make mistakes, this doesn't always work out. Having to juggle screen positioning with your crystal ball and all the frame data altercations it brings leads to Menat being a truly advanced character, one that will alienate newer and intermediate players. With that being said, if you love a real challenge, Menat might be the perfect character for you. Not only is her character design awesome, but her animations and combos make all the hard work feel worth it. Like Shakira said, the hips don't lie. Striking from out of nowhere, Zeku appeared on the scene as arguably the most unique Street Fighter newcomer in terms of battle mechanics. While he may seem like an old man, he can revert back to his younger self in the blink of an eye, and he seems to have been colleagues with Strider Hiryu. Old Zeku will always start the round, and his wisdom causes him to focus on playing from a distance. Young Zeku throws all of that out of the window and goes all in, punishing the enemy with high damage combos and oppressive close range techniques. In theory, Zeku can do it all, but as you can only be in one body at a time, determining when and where to body swap is a large part of his strategy. Attempting to analyze most of Zeku's normals, specials, target combos, etc. like I did with the other fighters will take years, so we'll rapid fire through some of his coolest offerings. Old's light punch links into itself, allowing for easy hit confirms, and the same can be said with Young's medium punch. Old's heavy punch is normally -5 on block, but transforming makes it +1. Doing this with Young Zeku makes you even more minus, so I would suggest against it. However, Young has a hit confirmable target combo even when fully spaced, so it's not a bad idea to use this move in neutral. Old's crouching heavy punch is a safe crush counter that converts into full combos, with the same concept applying to Young, although his is -5. Both Zekus have standing overheads with very similar frame data too. Old can kick the enemy into the air, with the strength impacting the startup and range. Heavy travels super far, and each version can combo into his forward kick. These can also be used as mid-range neutral tools to keep the enemy in check. A vertical DP can also be found in Old Age, with the heavy version containing invincibility to air normals during the startup. The lack of forward movement makes it somewhat challenging to use in certain combos, but with the other attacks damage, Old Zeku won't lose any sleep. His final special is a Demon Flip, with punch, kick, and throw follow-ups. Young's Palm Strike hits up to 3 times depending on the strength, but the EX version is a crumple. Definitely make use of this for combos. He also has Guy's Hosanto from previous games. This launches the opponent upwards, resulting in meterless follow-ups. Speaking of Guy, Young Zeku also stole his air throw, command run, and its extensions. Both Zekus share V-Skill 1, a multi-hit strike that ends in a transformation. Old's V-Skill 2 summons a bird that drops a firecracker, and Young's calls in what I assume is a Tanuki for a launching kick. V-Trigger 1 is also shared between the two, as it gives them a one-time dash and follow-up strike. This dash can lead to wicked combo extensions, so it's worth learning if you want more advancing movement within your routes. V-Trigger 2 is like V-Skill 1 on crack, as it's a far more elaborate way to transform. It's super easy to combo into from either Zeku, adding to its cool factor. Just make sure not to whiff the initial activation. Out of all of the weaknesses that a character in this game can have, I believe Zeku's primary one to be more on the player than the character himself. The mental load Zeku takes on you is far more severe than those of other fighters, and this stems from having to juggle 2 fighters at once. Unlike the top tiers who have great speed, buttons, offense, defense, etc. all at once, Zeku has to deliberately sacrifice some of these to gain others, so he can never be made whole. Mental stacks aside, Zeku can be good fun if you're playing casually. Performing simple yet flashy combos with crazy VFX never gets old, especially because they feel so good to pull off. I'd never main him myself due to the amount of work he requires, but I still think he's one of the best Street Fighter V newcomers by a long shot. Alongside Ed, Falke is here to demonstrate that simple input characters can contain plenty of depth, strategy, and green lipstick. With her Psycho Power infused staff, enemies will have to duck for cover when she turns the match into a shooting gallery. Unlike the more aggressive fighters in the roster, Falke cares more about spacing and footsies. She boasts normals with extreme range and screen control, making her a fantastic choice for those who prefer to play low and slow, whittling the opponent's patience down in the process. Standing Heavy Punch and Standing Heavy Kick are great mid-range pokes, with Forward Heavy Punch covering even more distance. The move crush counters and can cancel into V-Trigger, making it a crucial attack to use. Her other standing normals admittedly don't have much range, but Crouching Medium Punch and Crouching Medium Kick can be used as mid-range pokes, although the former isn't a low. Standing Medium Punch is +3 on block however, so like with other fighters, this button is useful for block strings. Like with Abigail, the enemy will eventually become frustrated and jump at you, with Crouching Heavy Punch serving as the perfect call-out tool. If you're the one jumping, Dive Kick travels straight down and allows for follow-up attacks on hit or block. Call me crazy, but I think Capcom took some inspiration from Killer Instinct on this one. Stomp is super slow and with pitiful range, but it's also a safe standing low that easily links into Medium Punch for combos, so it's good to use up close. The first of Falke's 3 specials is a projectile that must be charged by holding a punch button. The standing version is used when up close, the crouching version moves along the ground, the EX versions both travel full screen, and the air version travels diagonally, even when jumping backwards. With no motion inputs, Falke is easily able to control horizontal and diagonal space in neutral, and these work well in combos too. 2 punches leads to a twice hitting anti-air that's also a combo ender, with the EX version hitting 3 times. This can also hit behind Falke as a cross-up, and it can even confirm into a critical art. 2 kicks sends Falke leaping towards the enemy as a close-range combo ender, although it's -10 on block, so be careful not to use it in neutral. The EX version launches the enemy, leading to rewarding combo routes. V-Skill 1 not only absorbs projectiles, but it places the opponent in a juggle state, allowing follow-ups to take place. Keeping things simple and using it to restart your zoning works too, so there's a lot of freedom with how you can use this attack. V-Skill 2 is a bubble that can be sent out at various angles, and after 5 seconds pass it'll explode. Falke can detonate the mine early by striking it with her staff too. V-Trigger 1 lets her shoot full screen projectiles, and if you think these combos look complicated, trust me, they're really not. You can only get 3 of these shots before time runs out, so make them count. V-Trigger 2 is an install that introduces 2 new moves, but the startup animation leaves Falke open, so make sure to combo into this one. Because of how straightforward her game plan is, Falke struggles to surprise the enemy with strategies they haven't seen before, and without any 3-frame buttons, it makes being on defense tough to deal with. Plus, her fastest buttons all hit low to the ground, so good luck getting aerial opponents off your back. I'm personally not the biggest fan of simple inputs in fighting games, but I feel that they work exceptionally well for Falke. She's clearly been designed from the ground up with these inputs in mind, and there's nothing quite like ending a combo with her anti-air. Man, this move is satisfying. The mysterious President of the Earth is here to show us regular citizens what it's like to have the power of Gaia within your body, and I've gotta say, G is one of the most unique newcomers in both aesthetics and gameplay. Not only does he resemble Abraham Lincoln, but his game plan includes a character-specific leveling system. With this in mind, G can be thought of as an aggressive snowball type character, one that starts off weaker than expected but gains strength over the match. He's the type of guy to fly forwards and perform deadly frame traps, mix-ups, resets, etc., and when fully leveled up, his special moves become far stronger. When you have time, activating G-Charge, his most crucial special, will cause this upgrade to take place, and there are 3 levels in total. The longer you charge, the more levels you gain, but you're usually only able to get 1 per knockdown. The downside is that being knocked over will remove a level, so watch out. When at the highest level, G can cancel his heavy specials into EX specials. Pretty good, Mr. President. As a close-range fighter, many of G's normals are safe on block, allowing him to begin pressure with ease. Standing Medium Punch's frame data makes it useful for frame traps, and throwing in other normals here can also lead to command grabs. Standing Heavy Kick is a go-to button as it can start combos, has good reach, and can be made safe when spaced. It reminds me of Rashid's heavy kick, but I think this looks way cooler. Command normals include a crush counter forward swing, a rising punch, and an overhead kick. G Burst is the first of his specials, and its unorthodox trajectory makes it challenging to use at first. Higher levels transform the heavy version into a launching strike, and all versions can be cancelled easily into G Charge. G Smash Over is an important combo tool that sends the enemy away, granting you a charge. EX and level 3 charge hit twice and result in a wall bounce for further shenanigans. G Smash Under is a low variant of the previous move, although you don't get much charge time on hit. It seems that the move places the enemy in a juggle state, but I can't see a way to capitalize on this. G Spin Kick is a stylish combo tool, and it can easily follow the aforementioned rising command normal, even when spaced. G Impact is a command grab that, when leveled up, sends the enemy flying into the sky. The higher they are, the stronger the combo you can perform, with level 3 or EX resulting in some amazing looking ones. V-skills include a projectile absorbing barrier and a stackable taunt that buffs defense and allows G to maintain levels upon knockdown. Like with many V-skills, the second one is easier to understand and immediately utilize, but the first's complicated nature leads to a multitude of interesting situations. For example, if you combo into V-skill 1, you can press out of it and the barrier turns into a projectile when in V-trigger 1. This move instantly puts him into the maximum level, allows for special to special cancels, and lets him cancel into his V-skills. V-Trigger 2 is far simpler however, granting him 2 new moves. Because of his over-reliance on levels and meter, G's ability to control neutral somewhat falls off a cliff. He's ultra dependent on resources, and against enemies who can run away, he's forced to go in and spend them whenever he gets the chance. There are also no 3-frame buttons or true reversals in his toolkit, making defensive play a nightmare. A Street Fighter V newcomer that's all about offense isn't anything special, but G's exaggerated demeanor and level system was the breath of fresh air that the roster needed upon his launch. I had a blast experimenting with him in trading mode and really hope that he returns in future games. Hail to the king, baby. Evil Ryu with an overbite isn't what anyone was expecting when theory crafting Street Fighter V newcomers, but Kage is here to prove us wrong. It's obvious that he's supposed to be the next Evil Ryu, with his axe kick and generally frightening demeanor being dead giveaways. If you try and play Kage like a traditional Shoto, one with full screen fireballs, multi-hitting Tatsus, etc., then you'll be disappointed, as he's all about being a glass cannon. Much like Akuma, Kage can easily hit like a truck with little resources, but he'll get knocked out quickly if he's the victim of a combo. Securing a close position for as long as possible is Kage's goal in life, with the rewards being huge. Assuming you're in a staring contest with the enemy, Standing Light Punch is a 4-frame jab that's +3 on block. From here, you can do it again, attempt to throw, or throw out a medium/heavy punch, as both are 6-framers. By the way, his forward throw is +9 and leaves him in range for poke, so go wild. Crouching medium punch is a 5-frame button that's also +3, making light punch frame traps a possibility. On hit, it links into itself, allowing for really cool meterless combos. If you're a bit further out, Standing Light Kick is a + on block poke that travels further than his other light attacks. Dive Kick can be used to make opponents second guess their anti-air timings, but it's not the safest on block, at least when up close. Frame data is dependent on positioning, and SuperComboWiki lists this move as being +6 on block when spaced. On hit, it easily links into Crouching Medium Punch. Kage's overhead might seem strong at first, but the startup is reactable and it can't be comboed into anything, not even V-Trigger. Standing Heavy Kick and Forward Heavy Punch are Kage's crush counters, so it goes without saying that they're very important. Use the latter for V-Trigger combos and the former for more traditional routes. Also, you will have noticed by now that Kage's Tatsu is odd in that it only hits once, with weird properties like this applying to his Hadouken. Only the EX version has any range, and even then, it's comparable to Dance Fireball, so it's clear that this isn't supposed to be a long-range option. The Air version has more range, so I hope you like Tiger Knee motions. For Projectile Wars, Red Fireball hits multiple times but has a lengthier startup, so it's not the fastest option in the world. V-Skill 1 is an unsafe chargeable lunging strike, but V-Trigger 1 boosts its effects. The regular version is now 0 on block, and the charge variant is -2 when spaced. When in this install, Kage can use it to end his target combo. V-Skill 2 is an airborne attack that also works from the target combo, and when in V-Trigger, it moves forward, hitting twice in the process. V-Trigger 1 even lets you use it in the air, which is a super satisfying way to end strings. Speaking of V-Triggers, the former allows you to teleport, even on hit, and use V-Skill after moves that normally can't be cancelled into it, whereas V-Trigger 2 gives Kage a new special move and super. V-Trigger 1 allows for more stylish combos with more thoughtful player expression, but I think V-Trigger 2's simplicity makes it great for new players. Kage's stubby normals kill any chance of mid-range hit confirms, and as he lacks fast or long-range options, he can only be effective when in a median striking distance. When combined with his low health, even the tiniest mistakes are enough to put him in an early grave. This linear game plan contributes to a predictable style of play, with conscious opponents being able to easily read and counter his movements. Personally, I don't think Kage is a bad character, but he's not a favourite of mine, mostly due to his appearance. Those purple horns crack me up, dude. His combos are sick though, I'll give him that, and he also led to this infamous K-Brad clip.
I'ma block this whack ass mix up.
As another Final Fight representative, police officer Lucia blasts her way into Street Fighter V, and she's dedicated to protecting Metro City with the power of flame kicks. As she only appeared in Final Fight 3, not many people know of her existence, but she aims to please with some flamboyant strikes. As an all-rounder, Lucia specializes in a little bit of everything without being too strong in any particular field. An emphasis has been placed on mobility within her move list, however, as many specials send her forward, leading to strong corner carry. With Metro City's finest, you want to play neutral until you score a hit, and once you do, hit confirm into a combo that leaves with a positional advantage. Crouching Light Punch is her only 3-frame normal, but it can easily set up tick throws thanks to its frame data. Standing Light Punch and Standing Light Kick are also plus, with the latter serving as a quick anti-air. If you have the chance, Crouching Heavy Punch works better here, but its startup is slightly slower. Standing and Crouching Heavy Kick are both crush counters, making them useful combo starters, but what really stood out to me was her Standing Medium Punch. This is +3 on block, easily beginning oppressive block string pressure, and on hit, it links into Crouching Medium Punch for a combo. Also, Standing Heavy Punch is -2, but is her furthest reaching cancelable normal, so it's not a bad tool to have. Jumping Medium Kick is a deep cross-up, and opponents who have been conditioned to block low here can be hit by her overhead. Lucia's slide can also make quick work of their legs, and proper spacing can even begin combos. Like with any Final Fight character, there are many target combos to take advantage of, and one of them even swaps sides. Gunsmoke is a cancelable command run with 2 follow-ups. The first is a shoulder tackle that can link into Standing Light Punch when spaced, and the last is a DP-like kick that knocks down. EX tackle leads to a crumple, and EX kick leads to a lengthier ender with incredible screen coverage. Firecracker is a stance that leads to arched, horizontal, and diagonal fireballs, and this is Lucia's way of doing battle via projectiles. The follow-ups never have to be committed to, so you can perform the first hit to stop enemies from approaching. On hit, the fireballs keep the enemy standing, with the EX versions hitting twice. Fire Spinner is a pseudo-tatsu that can either knock down or keep them standing. This leaves Lucia at +2, allowing for further pressure. What's really cool is that if you make contact with the upwards fireball, it'll shoot forwards incredibly quickly. Lucia's final special move is a DP, with the strength influencing its horizontal reach. Not only do they each have varying projectile invincibility frames, but their damage is really high too. The heavy and EX versions will serve as your combo enders, so make good use of them. V-Skill 1 is a series of kicks that can easily be cancelled into, and it can even link into a critical art. It also provides extra follow-ups out of Gunsmoke. V-Skill 2 is a downwards kick that surprisingly isn't an overhead, with this also leading to new Gunsmoke extenders. V-Trigger 1 increases the number of hits that her kick-related special moves do, and V-Trigger 2 brings out her Police Baton. This can be cancelled into Gunsmoke for some sick combos. With such explosive offense and a 3-frame normal, it seems that Lucia would dominate any match, but this sadly isn't the case. Most of her buttons have poor range, she lacks ways to prevent the enemy from back-rising her Oki setups, her fireballs have far greater startup than the competition's, and forward-moving DPs have noticeable startup. Additionally, Lucia's base damage output from normals is lower than average, so without the corner, she could really struggle to keep up. Despite her flaws, I had heaps of fun utilizing Lucia when I was younger, and doing a deep dive into her move list has only made me appreciate her more. She oozes with personality, and is one of the more memorable oddballs in the game's roster, thanks to her expressive voice lines and animations. As Street Fighter V's lone guest character, Akira Kazama jumped ship from rival schools to do battle with her distant relatives, and with her comes some unique systems. Despite originating from a 3D fighter with team mechanics and multiple super bars, Akira fits into Street Fighter pretty perfectly. Okay, here's where we run into a tiny roadblock. As Akira came fairly late into the game's lifespan, I wasn't able to find much verifiable documentation about how to approach her neutral, so I've had to go with my gut on a lot of things here. From what I can tell, Akira's cancelable buttons lead to huge meterless damage, but they have poor range. She has to occupy the opponent's breathing room to begin combos, but that doesn't mean she lacks any mid-range options. Forward heavy punch and standing heavy kick can catch enemies from afar, with both of them serving as crush counters. These are unsafe on block and whiff, but their range means they can keep enemies in check when spaced. Her other grounded buttons have far less range, but their frames aren't too bad, and crouching medium punch can even start block strings. If one of these buttons connects, they can easily confirm into specials for damaging yet concise combos. Akira also has numerous targeted combos that serve different ranges, and there's even one from her overhead. Kiko Kai is a close-range projectile that can be done in the air, and it knocks down with meter. The startup depends on the strength though, so make sure to use the light and medium versions in combos. The heavy version is +1 on block however, so it's not bad in neutral or maybe as a block string ender. Urarimon is a high damage elbow strike with absurd range, although light and medium keep the enemy standing. The positive frame data grants Akira continued pressure strings if the enemy keeps blocking, and the EX version is great to use after a stray neutral poke. Her Tenshu is a 2-hitting DP with invincibility frames on each variant, and the heavy one is a solid combo ender. Senchubu is a series of kicks with different animations depending on which button you press. Light travels along the ground, medium hits in the middle, and heavy hits upwards. After the first strike connects, any of the kick buttons can be inputted for a follow-up, with the EX version acting as a launcher. V-Skill 1 boosts her next fireball by giving it more hits, as well as turning the EX version into a wall bounce. V-Skill 2 now is a launcher straight out of rival skills, and you can do some nutty looking combos here. This is my favorite V-Skill in the entire game, as it flips the battle mechanics on its head and provides something totally alien. Plus, seeing stages in a whole new light is something I've had a soft spot for. Anyway, V-Trigger 1 summons Akira's brother, Daigo, and his powerful aura will launch the enemy after he comes literally flying in. You can even keep striking them before the launch occurs, and if you're feeling ballsy, it's possible to move them away from the blast zone and attempt a reset. V-Trigger 2 provides Akira with a new stance, one with many follow-ups. You can punch up to 4 times and go into her critical art, perform her launching kick string into an EX shoulder, or back heavy kick to transition into a cinematic. None of these strings have to be completed, allowing for continuous pressure out of stance. It may seem really slow to start up when activated in neutral, but thankfully it's super easy to combo into it. Akira's total of 950 health and ultra stubby buttons means that she has to be right in the opponent's face to get her most effective pressure strings and combos going. Her combination of mediocre walk speed and poor throw range means she doesn't have much in the way of strike-throw mix-ups either. She also can't do battle from a distance as she lacks long-range projectiles, and speaking of projectiles, Akira doesn't have many amazing ways to deal with them. She's far from being the strongest close-range combatant in the roster, but her appearance marks the first time a guest character was playable in a mainline Street Fighter title. If her lack of range and decent frame data doesn't bother you, I would recommend checking Akira out, as she can hit like a bulldozer under the right circumstances. As the distant cousin of Third Strike's 12, 11 shapeshifts into other fighters, stealing their properties in the process, and not in a Seth kind of way either, as 11 will literally become whoever he takes the form of. Remember 12's X-Copy Super in Third Strike where he temporarily transforms into his opponent? Well, 11 is more or less a permanent version of this, but to spice things up a bit, he can become anyone, not just his enemy. As such, 11's strategy, key moves, weaknesses, etc. all depend on who he morphs into, and while I love his character design, I'm unable to select him for myself. This is because 11 cannot be obtained with fight money. Rather, you have to purchase the Season 5 Character Pass DLC if you want to test him out. Call me crazy, but forcing players to spend $45 without a sale to access 11 is a weird move. He's supposed to be just a fun bonus character that allows for random select online, but I have no clue why he can't be bought with fight money like every other fighter. As a result, there's not much more for me to say about 11, as although his character design is really cool, he doesn't have any unique moves in his toolkit. Representing Street Fighter V's swan song as its sequel was ready to hit the streets less than 2 years after his release, Luke is to this title what Alex and Abel were to Street Fighter 3 and 4 respectively, a transitional point between the old and new generations. With a confident mix of classic and newer strategies, Luke can be quite the overwhelming combatant to fight against, and there's a reason why he was considered arguably the best character in the game. As many of his attacks have built-in forward movement with strong combo potential, it's no surprise that Luke is all about staying at mid-range to capitalize on whiff punish and counter-hit opportunities. He has overheads, frame traps, crush counters, target combos, projectiles, and even meterless invincible DPs. This leads to him being an extremely well-rounded fighter who doesn't have any glaring weaknesses that significantly hold him back. Crashing Light Punch is a 3-frame jab with solid reach that can easily chain into other strikes or V-trigger, meaning it's excellent to use when under pressure. His standing punches, while not as quick to start up, all keep the heat on the enemy with their momentum and combo potential. Medium Punch especially comes to mind as you can mash the button for an easy target combo, so it's reliable as a spaced whiff punish. I could go on about more of his normals, but what really interests me are his special moves. Neither version of Sand Blaster travels full screen and they have lengthy startup, but they actually hit their target faster than most projectiles in the game. This gives Luke the ability to meaningfully do battle from far away, and with V-Trigger 1 activated, it can even hit confirm from full screen into an ender. Rising Rocket is a high damage DP with invincibility frames on all versions, making it useful as a reversal, anti-air, and combo ender. Luke also has a command run with multiple follow-ups, but in my view, it falls short to Flash Knuckle, his most engaging special. Inputting the attack normally leads to a standard punch, but holding the button will charge it up. Luke players have to learn specific charge timings for their combos, or else they'll be leaving lots of damage on the table. The EX version also functions as a launcher, only adding to its damage output. V-Skill 1 removes the charge requirement for his next Flash Knuckle, and V-Skill 2 is a retreating stance that can be made plus with meter. V-Trigger 2 allows him to cancel Flash Knuckles into other Flash Knuckles, although this uses 40% of the install's timer. As Luke was subject to various nerfs after his release, he's not as strong as he once was, but trust me, he's still up there on the tier list. The closest thing to a clear weakness that I've come across is that Sandblaster's startup makes him lose Fireball Wars to characters with stronger projectiles. Also, his Standing Light Punch and Standing Heavy Punch are minus on block, and can even be punished with free-frame attacks when incorrectly spaced. As the supposed future of Street Fighter, Luke's overwhelming strength rubbed people the wrong way in the Street Fighter V era, but his antics have won over people's hearts going into Street Fighter VI. I wouldn't be surprised to see him return in future mainline entries, and as he's a popular character for both competitive and casual players, Luke fans have seemingly struck gold. And those are the newcomers of Street Fighter V. Man, my throat hurts now. A big thank you goes to all the resources I consulted when writing this video, as I admittedly lack experience with a few of these characters. Having frame data and meter information be readily available is the ultimate fighting game privilege, one that I will never take for granted. If you enjoyed the video, let me know who your favorite newcomer is in the comments. They're all super unique, and I feel that Capcom mostly knocked it out of the park with their visual and gameplay designs. Much like with certain newcomers from previous Street Fighter titles, some of these fighters have slim chances of returning in the future, but I would love to see the likes of Laura, Necalli, Menat, and G return. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you and your time, and I hope you had fun, and I also hope you learned something. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.